It began with fire, smoke rising from the ruins of a once great empire, the cries of its people echoing through streets that had once been filled with wealth, laughter, and pride. This was the end of Carthage. But before the city's final breath, there was a man, a legend, whose very name sent shivers through the Roman Senate. Hannibal Barca. Centuries ago, before Rome ruled the world, there were two powers fighting for control of the Mediterranean: Rome and Carthage. Carthage, a mighty Phoenician city-state on the coast of North Africa, was a beacon of trade and power. Its ships ruled the seas. Its merchant grew rich. Rome, on the other hand, was a rising force, disciplined, ambitious, and relentless. Their rivalry would ignite three of the most brutal wars the ancient world had ever seen: the Punic Wars. The story of Carthage's fall truly begins with Hannibal, a boy who swore an oath of eternal hatred toward Rome. His father, Hannibal Barca, had fought Rome in the First Punic War and made his son promise never to forgive their enemies. And Hannibal kept that promise. Years later, as a young commander, he would do something no one thought possible. He would take an army including 37 war elephants and march from Spain across the Pyrenees through the freezing Alps and straight into Italy. No one believed it could be done. The Alps were death, but Hannibal did it. And when he descended on the plains of Italy, he brought with him not just an army, but vengeance. The Romans had never seen anything like him. At Trebia, Lake Trasimene, and finally Cannae, Hannibal's tactical genius crushed Roman armies that outnumbered his own. At Cannae, in 216 BC, he surrounded and annihilated nearly 50,000 Roman soldiers in a single day. A massacre so shocking that mothers in Rome refused to let their sons leave the city. For nearly 15 years, Hannibal roamed Italy. He won battle after battle, but still, he could not break Rome itself. Rome refused to surrender. Instead, it adapted. While Hannibal ravaged Italy, Rome attacked Carthage's allies abroad, cutting off his support. Slowly, patiently, Rome turned the tide. When the Roman general Scipio Africanus invaded North Africa, Hannibal was forced to return home. It was there, on the plains of Zama in 202 BC, that the two great commanders finally faced each other. Hannibal's elephants charged first, but the Romans had learned from their defeats. They opened their ranks, letting the beasts pass harmlessly through. Scipio's cavalry struck Hannibal's flanks, and soon the Carthaginian army collapsed. Hannibal, the man who had once terrified Rome, was defeated. The Second Punic War was over. Carthage was stripped of its navy, its empire, and its pride. But Rome wanted more. They wanted revenge. 50 years later, Rome found its excuse. When Carthage began to rebuild and defend itself from local enemies, Rome accused it of breaking the peace treaty. Thus began the Third Punic War, a war not of conquest, but of extermination. For 3 long years, Carthage resisted siege, its citizens fighting street by street, house by house. But in 146 BC, the walls finally fell. The Roman legions poured in, led by Scipio Africanus, the grandson of the man who had defeated Hannibal. The destruction that followed was beyond belief. The city burned for 17 days. Its people were slaughtered or sold into slavery. Every building was torn down, brick by brick. According to legend, the Romans plowed salt into the earth so that nothing would ever grow there again. Carthage, once the jewel of the Mediterranean, was gone. And what of Hannibal? After Zama, he spent his final years hunted by Rome, wandering from kingdom to kingdom, advising other rulers, still dreaming of a way to strike back. But Rome never forgot him. When Roman envoys came to capture him, Hannibal took poison, choosing death over chains. His last words are said to have been, "Let us relieve the Romans of their fears, since they find it so hard to wait for the death of an old man." With Hannibal's death and the destruction of Carthage, Rome stood alone, the undisputed master of the Mediterranean. But even as its empire expanded, some Romans could never shake the memory of the man who almost destroyed them. Because in the annals of history, Rome may have won the war, but Hannibal Barca, the man who crossed the Alps, who defied the impossible, and who made the world tremble, remains one of the greatest military minds who ever lived. The fall of Carthage wasn't just the end of a city. It was the birth of an empire and a warning to the world that power, no matter how great, can vanish in fire and ash.